everyone, and welcome to the Knit California podcast. My name is Leslie. I'm a knitter, crocheter, spinner, pattern designer, and yarn enthusiast in Southern California, and this is my weekly podcast episode where I talk to you about all of my knitting projects. I have a couple finished objects today, actually, one new cast on and 2 WIP updates. So grab your own project, grab something cozy to drink, and let's get into it. I'm excited to be back with you today for another podcast episode. There was not an episode last week, so I have about 2 weeks of updates for you. I did, however, post a video over the weekend, which was a project vlog for another Hooks and Needles project, Hooks and Needles subscription knit kit project that I worked up. So this is one of my finished objects. I'm not going to go too deep into this. You can go watch the whole vlog if you want to see me working this up, unboxing the kit, picking the project, but this is the sunset scarf. So it's just an asymmetrical triangle scarf with some eyelet detail rows, and these are the 2 colors that were included in this month's kit. So it was a pink and an ivory, and this is a 50% cotton, 50% wool blend yarn. So it was a really fun project that I worked on for like 4 or 5 days last week, and I made a whole vlog on it, so you can go check that out. I highly recommend. Okay, let's get into my other project updates. I have a half-finished object for you, so let's first talk about my sock knitting. I finished the first sock from my Oh Christmas Tree self-striping yarn, and it looks really good. I think last time I talked to you about this, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I think I was like, right here, I had just done the heel flap, maybe the whole gusset, and I was working through, but I finally sat down, I finished the foot and the toe. So the yarn that I'm using for this is from Tia's Terrific Threads, and it's a self-striping colorway called Oh Christmas Tree. The contrast color is actually a mini skein that was not included with the main skein. I had this in my stash. I think this is a Ruby and Roses colorway, maybe from her last year's Christmas mini set. I don't remember what it was from, but that's what it is. And I just felt like it really went with the theme of this sock. Like the pink really matches some of these other reds and pinks in here, so I'm really happy with it. The yarn, the main yarn, is a BFL nylon blend, so it does feel a little bit rougher than like your standard merino sock yarn, but that's fine. I'm following for my socks. If you're new here, I'm like relatively new at knitting socks, okay? So this is my second pair that I'm working through over the last couple of months, and I'm really trying to like fully understand and refine my, I guess what you would call perfect fit sock formula. So I'm using the Summerly Knits Oh So Basic sock pattern, which is a free pattern and like tutorial and like beginner's guide that's available on Ravelry, and I assume on her website also. There's video tutorials in it, so it's really nice. And so far so good. I mean, I feel like I've definitely learned some things with the second pair. So I actually have the first pair of socks that I knit. I was wearing these earlier this week. So this is the first pair that I did recently from that pattern. And just from like wearing them recently, they're a little big. I think maybe the length here of the leg is a little bit longer than I would prefer. I think the cuff of this is a little bit bigger than it really needs to be. After a few wears and like washing, it has stretched a little bit. So that's something for me to keep in mind for future pairs. I did the same number of stitches on this pair to start with. Yeah, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but I can tell. The blue versus the green. The blue is the first pair, and like it's a little bit bigger, so I think that's just like wear and wash. It's growing a little bit, which I think is like to be expected. I did decrease to a smaller number of stitches for the ankle and for the foot on this sock compared to my first one, and after like trying it on, I think it fits really nicely, so I'm happy with that. And I also made the foot shorter. Now, some people were saying like, don't make that change on this sock, you might not like really, because I'm doing fewer stitches on the foot, the foot's gonna feel tighter, and people were saying don't make two changes at the same time. If you don't like it, you won't be able to figure out which one it is, like which change you need to undo or whatever. But I ended up doing both, so you can see the length of my new one versus my old one is shorter, and that's because I tried this on before I put the toe on. I literally had, I think, 3 of these stripes, 3 additional stripes more here, and it was way too long. Like, it was way over my pinky toe, and I was like, that's not where the foot is supposed to be when you start the toe. So I ripped back like 15 stitches, or about 15 rows. So I don't know if I just like knit too many to begin with, like wasn't keeping good count, or what was going on there. But this one fits really good. I'm really happy with it. I think my next, I still need to make the second sock, but my next pair going forward, I think I want to do fewer rows in the leg, which means I can probably start with fewer stitches here and just keep making it better. So I still need to cast on the second sock in this. I've just haven't gotten around to it. There's other knitting to be done. So that is the update on my socks. Oh, sorry pups. I slapped the couch and the pups went Ugh. I'm really enjoying my sock knitting though. I'm really having fun with it. I was watching Andrea Mowry's latest podcast. I watch her podcast very infrequently, but while I was doing my hair this morning, I watched her podcast, and she has a relatively new sock pattern that came out, and she's going to be doing like a sock knit along over the Thanksgiving weekend. I'm considering, she was talking about it, and I was like, oh, maybe I should try to do that. I think that would be really fun. So I might participate. Hey, the lip up. I might be participating in that. If I do, I'll vlog it. The timing of it is like November 28th through December 2nd. I think the challenge is to knit 2 full socks over like a weekend, which would definitely be a challenge for me, but I think it would be really fun, and it would be like right at the start of Vlogmas, so it could be like an extra Vlogmas video for like a little bit later, or like the first weekend in Vlogmas, if I need to take a break from filming or something like that. I don't know, I just sounded really fun. The socks were cute, they're a textured pattern. I could make them little ankle shorty socks to like go faster, and it just sounded really fun. Okay, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you are going to do that, if you've ever participated in one of Andrea Mowry's like long weekend sock challenges. I'm curious. Okay, let's move on. I really want to show you my new project. So let's talk about my Loch Ness Cowl. Yes, I said Loch Ness Cowl. If you watched from a couple of weeks ago my Colorwork inspiration video, this is a result of all of that. If you did not watch that video, I have been very, very inspired to like knit something, anything in Colorwork. And I purchased the Doodle Knit Directory by Jamie Lomax. She's at Pacific Knit Co. on Instagram. And this was in my mailbox when I came back from my Ireland trip in mid-October. And like this, I think definitely helped with some of that inspiration. And there was a specific pattern from my friend Annabeth. She's at Annabeth is Knitworthy on Instagram and YouTube, and like she recently released her Beneath the Waves, it's a sock colorwork pattern of Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. And I'm going to Scotland on a Scotland knitting tour with Rachel from Rachel is Knitting next May, which, by the way, if you are interested in going on this trip, it's like a week-long knitting tour in Scotland, starting in Edinburgh, doing a Loch Ness cruise and like workshops. There's a weaving workshop, a knitting workshop, all of this like fun stuff. There is a tour that still has spots available from like end of May to early June, and I'll put the link in the description box down below if you're interested. You can go check it out. Rachel's trying to fill the second tour for next year. Anyways, I'm going on this tour next year, and I just thought, how perfect would it be to like take this Loch Ness Nessie wave stitch pattern from these Colorwork socks. I don't think I'm ready for Colorwork socks yet, but I wanted to take that pattern and make a cowl, like an infinity cowl with it, and so that's what I've cast it on. I took the basic like infinity cowl pattern from the Doodle book. So I'm gonna do the one that has the twist in it, so the bottom one. And I took the Colorwork chart from the Beneath the Waves pattern. I had to modify it very, very slightly to make the stitch counts work. And here's where we're at. You can see it, right? You can see the Loch Ness monster. You can see the waves. I've got 3 full pattern repeats here. I love it so much. I think it looks so, so cute. Okay, this is it's not my first time doing color work. I have done color work. If you've been watching this channel for a very long time, a couple of years ago, I did a steeked colorwork cardigan, the Maddie cardigan, and honestly, in my opinion, it turned out to be a disaster, okay? I used a needle size that was way too large. I was like so worried about my colorwork puckering that I like way overcompensated. The whole cardigan ended up being way too big and just like it didn't look good when I wore it. It's like not wearable. And that really like put me off from colorwork for a really long time. And now I'm back. I'm coming back around to it. I think going on the Ireland knitting tour just really brought back a lot of this inspiration. So yeah, this is where we're at. I mean, the whole thing does kind of look really, really puckery if you look at it up close, but when I like stretch this out, it looks okay. So I think when this is blocked, and like soaked and stuff, I think it'll be fine. The yarn that I'm using for this, the blue, is from Flower Garden Yarns, which she's no longer dyeing, but this was a really special custom dyed yarn that she dyed for me called Glacial, and this is a DK weight. And the green is a Sewrella yarn winter tonal in the colorway Alphine, and this is also a DK weight. I will say the green DK is like a larger, thicker, more plump yarn compared to the blue, and I can see that in my knit. I think it really stands out. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but especially on like the neck part here, I just feel like the green really like pops out at you, which I think overall for a cowl like this is kind of a cool effect. But also with it not being blocked right now, I think that contributes to like a lot of the puckering that's going on with this. So I don't know. I showed Rachel. Rachel knits a decent amount of color work and beautiful color work, and she was like, don't worry about it, it'll block out. So I think it'll be fine. I think according to my math, I need to do 7 repeats total, and I've done 3, so I need to do 4 more. Although looking at this, I really don't know if that's going to be enough. I might need to do 8, but we'll see. We'll do 7, we'll do a little measuring, we'll do a little blocking, and we'll go from there. So I did a little provisional cast on onto some try-it-on tubing so that when I get around to the end, I can do like a 3-needle bind off or something to close this up. So I think that'll be fun. That's actually part of the pattern. That's nothing special that I did. But yeah, it's going really well. I'm really excited about this. I've been wanting to work on this more, but I did basically all of this, like not this last week, but the week before. But I just kept thinking like, the podcast hasn't seen it yet, so you have enough progress to show the podcast now. Why don't you work on your other projects where you don't have a lot of progress to show the podcast? And so that's kind of what I did. Although, what, you know, if I did a good job, who knows? We'll see. But okay, there's my Loch Ness Beneath the Waves Infinity Doodle Cowl, whatever we want to call it. I'm calling it my Loch Ness Cowl, okay? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about my next project, my book club cardigan. We are talking about my book club cardigan. This is a pattern by Sari Nordlund. It's an all-over cabled cardigan. The yarn that I'm using for this is this. This is Berroco Lanas Light in the colorway Phlox. It's a sport weight 100% Peruvian wool. And I'm holding it with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Dusty Violet. And they look really good together. And let's look at my progress. So let's start with the back panel, because last time you saw this, this is where I was. Here's my cute little stitch marker. So I finished the full back panel. Yay! Everybody clap. It looks really good. I'm really happy with it. And I've picked up the right front shoulder. I've actually picked this up twice now because the pattern said for my size to pick up 63 stitches, and I picked up all the stitches and there were only 60. So I like did some funny things where I just like increased on the next row, and then I realized that my like chart here wasn't lining up. And I was a few rows in and I was like, this looks terrible. So I ripped it out and did it again. And then I picked up 61 stitches. So, and then I just left it because I don't know. I think it'll be fine. The chart here lines up, which is all that matters, because this is going to be the part closest to the neck here. And then this is just by the armhole. And I guess, yeah, it'll be fine. I'm not too worried about 2 stitches. Just looking at it on camera here. This is a lot of people's gripe with this pattern, is that this cable does not run seamlessly here. And I really thought I could fix it picking up for the front panel, but in order to fix it, you need to do stuff on the first few rows when you like this is the back panel. You need to fix it on the back panel, and I was not smart enough to realize that you needed to fix it on the back panel. I do think it's a really easy fix. Like, just don't start this cable leg until the cross here. Like, just keep it all these purl rows, and then it'll stop right at the intersection point, and then you start the new one at the intersection point, and it'll look fine. So if you want to knit this, that's what I would do, and do it on the back panel, not the front panel. This is where you need to make the change. But it doesn't really bother me too much, and it's going to be on the back, and my hair will mostly cover it, so I don't think it's a big deal. I'm really enjoying this knit still. It just takes a really long time to knit like one row, or it was at least on the back panel. Now that I'm on the front shoulder, it takes a little bit less time because there's fewer stitches, but I'm kind of like psyching myself out because I'm imagining when I get to like the full body of the cardigan, it's literally gonna take me like 30 minutes to do one row of this. But like, I enjoy working on it, and I really want the finished object, the finished item. Like, I can't wait for this to be in my wardrobe. It's just gonna be so good and so cool. So it's just a really slow going project, which is okay. I just want to make sure that I'm making a little bit of progress on it every week. So I'm going to move my progress keeper. I'm still really enjoying my little sheepy guy here. There we go. Progress. Okay. That is my book club cardigan. So the last project that I want to talk to you about is my California sweater. Okay, so the California sweater is a pattern by me. It's a beginner-friendly drop shoulder pattern. It was designed to be knit with one strand of fingering weight, held with one strand of Suri lace weight on a large needle size to create like a really open, gauge, airy fabric. I'm using for this one that I'm knitting, I'm using a Boucle yarn. This is from Superglo Fibers. It's her Silky Boucle yarn, which is a 70% mulberry silk, 30% merino, I think, held with a Suri. So it's a baby alpaca Suri held together. This was a one-of-a-kind colorway. I have 3 skeins of it. This colorway is called Mermaid Caves. And so here's what they look like separately. And here's what they look like together. I'm knitting the size 2XL on this one. I really wanted it to be like really like oversized and slouchy and like comfy. Typically I knit the size XL for most garments, so if it looks a little bit bigger than what you normally see for me, that's why. But here it is, and here's you can see my progress keeper. So I've made a decent amount of progress. This has been like probably the one project that I've done the most on, it feels like, over these last couple of weeks. And I'm at the point now where I need to try on the body and make sure I'm good with the length, because my row counter says, from when I set it up, says I should be done with the body. And I do think this is a pretty good length, so I just need to go try it on. I haven't had the willpower and the bravery to put this on, try it on tubing, and to go try it on. I am thinking, if I am happy with the length, I'm thinking of just doing an I-cord bind off and not doing ribbing. I feel like with this yarn, the Boucle, I just feel like that would be like a really nice bind off here for the body and for the sleeves. I was thinking I could also do that for the neckline, but I feel like the neckline is really open and really large. I don't know, when I try it on I can see, but I'm thinking for the neckline I might pick up all the stitches and just do like a knit like funnel neck, similar to what I did on my Farnham sweater. I think that could be really cute here as well. And I'm kind of worried about running out of yarn, so, which I don't really think I should be, actually, to be honest. So I've got this, and I've got one additional skein of both the Boucle and the Suri. So I don't know, I'm starting to get down there on these skeins, but I think I'll be fine. I'm just like, again, psyching myself out for, you know, potentially playing yarn chicken. But trying this on will, I think, really ease some of my worries and help make a lot of decisions for me on this. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. This is like my plain stockinette knitting also that I get to do if, you know, I need something easy at the end of the day, or like my meeting knitting. This is what I pull out and work on. So I'm making really good progress with this. Okay, so I actually decided to try this on after filming the podcast, and I'll put this clip in, but it's looking really good. If I want to do the I-cord bind off, I think I need to do a little bit more in length. Maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Just so that it's not like, you know, riding up. I don't know if this Boucle yarn will stretch a lot. Like, I've never really worked with a Boucle yarn like this, so I mean, if it does, great, whatever. But I'm really liking just like the overall lots of positive ease, very slouchy. In terms of the neckline, yeah, definitely would not just do an I-cord on this. I think it's way too wide. So I do still like the idea of doing the little funnel neck. So we'll see. And then the sleeves obviously will add a lot to this also. But yay, it's looking good. And the other piece to the California sweater that I want to talk about is I'm hosting a knit along, the California sweater knit along. So this knit along is going from now, it actually started towards the end of October through the end of December. So if you want to join me in knitting a California sweater, it's definitely not too late to join. This is a relatively quick knit, unless you've got, you know, 5 other projects on the needles like I do. So it's definitely not too late to join. There is a hashtag, the California Sweater KAL. You can go follow it on Instagram, and if you post any of your progress pics and your finished object photos using that hashtag, I just had a realization. Let me finish my thought. If you post using that hashtag, I'm going to be picking winners at the end of the knit along for a couple prizes. I just got a notification like this week on Instagram that hashtags are changing and like you won't be able to follow hashtags anymore starting like mid-December. And so I'm just like wondering about the future of giveaways, if we'll even be able to use hashtags like this and choose people to pick prizes based off hashtags. Hopefully I'm still able to do that at the end of this knit along. If not, we'll do like a Google form or something and you can submit some photos for works in progress and finished objects. Like, we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's all the fun right now for the California sweater, and it's going really well. Okay, I have one more thing I want to talk to you about. I have an acquisition from this week, so let me grab it. Okay, this acquisition also kind of comes with an embarrassing story that I've been debating about whether or not I want to tell on the podcast, but I feel like I probably just should. So I got some yarn from Knit and Note. They also sent this really nice tote bag. It's really cute. If you have not heard of Knit and Note, they are a knitting app and they're based out of Norway, I believe. And it's a knitting app that's kind of, how do I describe it? Like similar to Ravelry, where like you can post your project. It's got project pages. You can download patterns from there, but it's like a subscription app. So when you join, you automatically get access to all of the patterns that are in the app. So you pay for the subscription, but then you do not have to pay for each individual pattern. So it's really interesting. It's really cool. And about a year or so ago when they launched, they asked me if I would help like talk about the app, like market it, and I did. So I like made a whole video on Instagram. I talked about it on stories, and this is where the embarrassing part comes in. After the like app launched, they got back to me and they were like, hey, so we have your sales numbers and you only sold one. Like only one person bought it through your link. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, at least I got one, like kind of joking it off, like joking about it, laughing it off over DMs with them. And it was me, like I I was the one sale through my own link, and that was the first time that I had ever had like an affiliate like partnership that like I didn't get any sales through. And since then, like it has happened again. Like this is something that happens like when you are an affiliate, you're working with a company, sometimes people just don't like buy stuff, and like that's totally okay. That's like a nature of the business. But that was the first time for me that this had happened, and I just felt like so embarrassed that it had happened, and like I was the only person that purchased it like through my own link. Anyways, there was like a whole like commission structure for if you sold this much, you would get paid this much. And obviously I didn't meet any of that. So we were kind of talking back and forth about like, instead of payment in that way, they could send payment in yarn when they got their yarn line up and running. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And kind of didn't really touch base with them again after that because I was like so embarrassed about my own performance in talking about the app online. Anyways, they reached out a couple weeks ago and they were like, hey, you worked with us, we really want to send you some yarn, so pick out what colors you want and we'll get that sent out to you. They have a new yarn base that's launching, their Mohair, and so they specifically were like, we would like to send you the Mohair along with either Merino or the Highland, I think it's the Highland wool. So pick out what you want, pick out what colors you want, and we'll send it to you. So that's what I got in the mail. So I've got, and this is a lot of yarn. I did not realize they were going to be sending me this much, but I got 10 balls of the Merino in the colorway Blooming Blush. They're 50-gram balls, so I've got 500 grams of this, plus the same amount in the Cashmere Mohair in the same colorway. I haven't opened them yet. Ooh. This is soft. Honestly, this feels like very similar to the Knitting for Olive. Actually, it feels softer than the Knitting for Olive because it like, okay, it looks very similar to the Knitting for Olive. This is like what I first thought of when I pulled this out, because I've been working a lot with, this is the Knitting for Olive, this is the Knit and Note, but the Knit and Note has cashmere in this. This is 49% mohair, 36% silk, 15% cashmere, whereas the Knitting for Olive is just 70% mohair, 30% silk. So this is actually like softer. Oh, I'm really excited to use this. Okay, and then let me open the Merino. Oh, this is nice too. So this is a 100% non-superwash merino wool, eco-friendly, mulesing free. So these are really nice, and I do think this will be a pretty decent color for me. And I wasn't sure how much of these I was getting when I like first was talking to them, and it ended up being like way more than I thought. But my original idea is to make a slip over with this. If you watch the last, what do we call it? If you watched the last Save My Stash that Rachel and I did at the beginning of November, it was my turn to present yarn to Rachel. This is an Instagram live series that we do, by the way, like once a month. And I picked out some yarn from my stash that I wanted help with choosing a pattern for. And Rachel did some Ravelry searching. We talked through a bunch of patterns. And in the last episode, we talked a lot about how I have been intrigued about knitting a slip over recently, but also kind of scared about knitting slipovers. I have never like in my life worn like vests. And so figuring out how to style that for me is really where the hang up is, the hold up is. But I've been thinking recently, especially before it like got really cold here in Southern California, I was thinking about how slipovers would be like really great items to wear when it's like, you know, the fall and you want to wear something knitted, but it's still, you know, 70 plus 80 degrees outside. That was my thought process. So I think I'm gonna knit a slipover with this yarn. I think it would be really cute in this color. I haven't really picked out a pattern yet. I have a couple in a Ravelry bundle that I've been like thinking about. I also feel like I'm very picky with like slipover patterns that I'm interested in. I don't know, Rachel was suggesting some and I was just like, I'm not interested in any of these. And I do think there is a very distinct difference between like slipovers and tank tops, like very, very different. And a lot of like knitting patterns are like, oh, this could be, you know, this is a vest and it's a tank top and it's a slipover. And I'm like, no, 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 no. These are not the same categories. Definitely not. Yeah, there's literally 4 patterns on my Ravelry bundle here. So one of them is the Semper Slipover by the Knit Pearl Girl. I've knit the Semper sweater. So this is a very simple, like, this would be like a wardrobe staple slipover pattern. So that intrigues me. Another one is the Hazel Slipover by OOAK Anna. So very, very similar to the Semper Slipover in that just like it would be a basic wardrobe staple. One of them is the Friday Slipover by Petite Knit. I like the texture on this one. So this is a broken rib stitch and I really like the texture on it. I think it's really cute. And so that's one that I'm considering. And then the last pattern in this bundle is the Arcuate vest. I think I pronounced that correctly. And it's got some cables on it. So it's like a cabled slipover. And I think this one is really cute. I think Kate from Red Door Fiber Studio knit this one recently. So I just need to decide, like, I don't yeah, am I ready yet for a cabled slip over, or do I just want to go for like the basic wardrobe staple first, figure out how to style it that works for me, and then, you know, go from there? That's probably what I'll do. I'll probably, for being honest, I'll probably end up doing either the December slipover or the Friday slipover. Because I think even with the broken rib texture, like, that's still, like, it's a rib pattern, but it's like still like a basic, like it could still be a wardrobe staple, I guess, if you know what I mean. So that's, yeah, that's the knit and note yarn. Go check out the app if you're interested. I will say, like, I think for like us here in the US or even in Canada, like, a lot of pattern designers that we are used to are not on the app. So it is a lot more of like the European designers that are on there. And some like smaller designers are on there as well. So just check out, you know, the designers and the patterns that are there, you know, if you're interested in them, if you're interested in like a subscription. There is, I think there is a free version of the app. I should double check that, but I think there's a free version of the app where you can just use it as like a pattern repository, like a project update space, like where you can log your projects and notes and stuff. So yeah, go check it out if you're interested. I don't have an affiliate link with them anymore, okay? So, all right. That's all I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I'm on a journey to 10K subscribers here on YouTube, and I'd really appreciate it. We're heading towards the beginning of December, and that means Vlogmas is coming up, which I am going to be participating in Vlogmas this year. So get excited for that. I started watching Christmas movies yesterday, so I am feeling like I'm in the holiday spirit. Yeah, I don't know where I was closing out the vlog. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. That's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you on the next one. Okay, bye.